I would like to talk this time about connections and some of the problems with them, how you make them, and some of the problems with it, and understanding the logic for it. So I'm going to look at the report that I was looking at in the last video and just show you a couple of the lines and explain what's going on here. Partly because I found it a little difficult to understand when I first was using Aspect Script. So anyway, on this first column that I was trying to build here, this report, if you remember, is returning all of the invoices given this quite long selection process here, but it's basically picking up those invoices where there is still something outstanding on the invoice, because this is a debtors and creditors report. So the first column I wanted to show the short name of the counterparty. So the counterparty is something which appears on the invoice. So the invoice record has got a counterparty. The counterparty itself is an object, and it has its own characteristics and fields. And one of them is the short name of the counterparty. So what this is doing, it says you've got an invoice line that's been returned by the source or the criteria script. You've got that invoice, find the counterparty object, and then pull in the short name for it. So it's this kind of connection. So the next problem, or next level of complexity, is that you might have associated with your invoice object, which you've brought onto your report, a collection of objects instead of just one single one. So in our previous example, there was only one counterparty to the invoice, so it was kind of like a one-to-one relationship, so it's quite easy to pull in that related object. But for the next one, what we're trying to do is we're going to try and get the company. Now the company is not a field which appears on the invoice. Like the counterparty does appear on the invoice, but the company doesn't. Actually, I mean, why Aspect is structured like that is a bit strange, but who knows what the reason they did that for was. But to find the company name, we can't. That doesn't appear on the invoice, but it can be found if we go and find the deal that the proto invoice is related to, or the invoice is related to. So this is what this line of code is doing. And what we're trying to do is, if we look at this diagram, which is on a previous video, we're sitting here at the invoice level, and we need to get to a deal. Now, in fact, just at the moment, we don't know whether this invoice is a physical invoice or a cost invoice. It could even be a futures, or well, probably not a futures, but it could be a swap. So what we need to do is we need to go through the proto invoice route to find something which has got a company number, a company value, a company name on it. So for instance, if it did happen to be a physical invoice, we're sitting on an invoice and it happens to be a physical invoice, if we could find the proto invoice for that, and then they parcel in the physical, that would have associated with it a company. But it could be a cost deal as well, that had this invoice might just be for a cost, or it might just be for a swap. In fact, in any of those cases, all we need to do is go and find the proto invoice. And of course, the other problem is that there will be many proto invoices, or there could be many proto invoices for that invoice. The proto invoices is a group. Aspect knows that it could be a group. It might be a group of only one, but it's still a group. So what does this line do? Well, it says, look, find the group of proto invoices. Now, when I was solving this particular piece of code, I know that all of the proto invoices and all the deals which are associated with them will all be in the same company, because any invoice can only be from one company. So I found the group of proto invoices, and I used then this formula here, which just says you can always tell these formulas because they've got they're written in capitals. And you can find the whole list of them in the usual place, which is the Aspect document on whatever it is. I'll write that on the video. So we're going to find this collection of proto invoices, and I'm just going to take the first one. And when I take, so now I've got to one particular proto invoice. I don't know which one it is, because there's no way I can know in every case what the proto invoice is, but it'll be one of these So maybe the deal which is associated with it is a cost deal. It could be a physical deal. So it's the cost deal. Okay. So I've taken the first proto invoice and I found the deal to do with that proto invoice. And then from that deal I can find the company, and the company will have this this field called the short name. And that's how we get from the invoice through proto invoices to deal to the company and its name. I hope that makes kind of sense. I wanted to show you some other bits and pieces on here, just to show you really more examples of working with these groups. Now that it's generally going to be the case that because I'm working on the invoice here, I'm going to be working with the next stage will be either the proto invoices or the allocations, more than likely. So you'll see this next line is similar. So here we've got take the group of proto invoices, and what I wanted to put on here was a bit of text that showed the user which proto invoices were what the deals were for that particular invoice, knowing that they could be more than one deal. So what I've done is said, well, go and find the collection of proto invoices. So again, that's going to be from this invoice. It's going to be a group of these, and there could be several, but for each of them I want you to go and find, for each of them I want you to go and find the deal. And then you've got to do that, you've got this formula here which says concatenate distinct things that you'll find here. So the things you'll find here are, for each proto invoice, the deal and the name of the deal. So that would be, if it's a physical deal, probably begin with PHY. If it's a cost deal, probably begin with COS. If it's a swap, probably begins with SWP. And put them into a list. It's concatenated and separated by this semicolon or the dot comma, and that's what that does. So I'm going to give you another example, which is this credit terms one here. So again, it starts off with the proto invoices, and now it says, okay, we've got a collection of proto invoices, and we can use select on this, just like we did when we did the source command here. You can put select statements here. So we've got proto invoices. Now I'm only interested, because credit terms will only ever appear on cargo trades. You don't get credit terms on the cost trades or swap trades. So I'm saying select where cargo trade is not equal to, remember that exclamation equals is not equal to null. What that does is it says only select those proto invoices which are associated with a cargo trade. There may be more than one of them. I'm kind of only interested in the first one, because if there is more than one cargo trade and they have different credit terms, then I'm unlucky. It's unlikely that someone's going to put on the same invoice two cargo trades when they've got different credit terms. And if that does happen, then this report is going to show you something which is slightly misleading. But actually, I'm just prepared to take the risk. So we've got the group of proto invoices. We've selected only the ones which are cargo trades. We're taking the first one of that, and we're saying, okay, so for this cargo trade, take the credit type, and it's got a name as well. I think I've probably explained before that if I didn't put the dot name after it, then it would come back with the credit type object in the report, which would be blue and underlined, and which is quite nice because you can click on it and go to it if you're using the report on screen. But I kind of prefer just to have the non-dynamic name, just the text in my report. So hopefully that explains how to get information that is related to the invoice but is not on the invoice record, and some of how the logic of this all works. But I must say, you kind of get used to how this works by practicing and trying to write your own report. So good luck with that. Let me just run the report, execute it, and show you what the results of some of this stuff looks like. Okay, so we were saying that we wanted the company to come up in this column here, and the company for these particular invoices are all RFI in this test database. And what was the other thing we were looking for? We were looking for the deals, So the deal is coming up here now. In fact, that's quite nice because most of them only have one deals, but this one has two different deals on it. There we go. We can see that it's made up of two separate physical deal numbers. What was the other one we were looking at? We were looking at trying to find the credit terms. Okay, so if we look at here, if there is a credit term on that physical cargo trade, then it's coming through here, and it looks like on some of them we haven't bothered putting out credit terms, but if it's not there, it won't return. Okay, so hopefully that will help you. These are quite frustrating and can be quite difficult to get the order of everything right. If you use my diagram, I honestly think that this is going to help you understand and get your connections right. So good luck with it, and that's everything. Thanks.